Welcome to the Book Party Podcast.
Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T.
Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Welcome to the Book Party Podcast. Today, we're diving deep into the world of career transformation, empowerment, and debunking myths that might be holding you back from finding your true calling. I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, Mustafa Ammar, a true trailblazer in career coaching, personal development, and global impact. Mustafa Ammar is not only the founder and CEO of the Passion MBA, a coaching powerhouse that has guided countless individuals toward their dream careers and businesses, but he's also a dynamic life coach with a proven track record of his success. His coaching methodology, the Passion Blueprint, has become a guiding light for those seeking fulfillment and excellence in their professional lives. But that's not all. Mustafa's journey is a testament to the power of embracing change. With a career trajectory that spans across continents and industries, he's walked the path of pharmacist driven by a passion for chemistry, an international diplomat dedicated to bridging cultures and fostering global connections, and now an acclaimed author with upcoming books, Time to Move On and The Passion Project. Throughout this podcast episode, we'll delve into the insights Mustafa has gained from his diverse experiences and his mission to dispel the 7 career myths that might be standing between you and your dream job. From pharmacy to diplomacy, from Malawi to the United Nations, Mustafa's story is a living example of the extraordinary possibilities that await when you embrace your passions and pivot toward your true calling. So if you're ready to challenge the status quo, unlock your potential, and gain a fresh perspective on crafting a career that aligns with your deepest aspirations, you're in the right place. Tune in as we unravel the wisdom Mustafa Ammar offers and embark on a transformation journey that will inspire you to leap into your dream career. Stay tuned and get ready to ignite your passion as we dive into the world of Mustafa Ammar, his groundbreaking book, Time to Move On, The 7 Career Myths Keeping You from Finding Your Dream Job. This is the Book Party Podcast. Let's begin the journey to a more fulfilling and purpose-driven career together. Now, Mustafa, why don't you take it from here, fill in the blanks a bit, and tell our listeners about yourself.
Hello, Michael. It's a pleasure being on your very, very interesting show. And actually, nothing left for me to to say. But if I would just, in 1 minute, I would say in reincarnation vocabulary, I lived a few career lives. So as you rightly said, I started as a pharmacist out of passion for chemistry. Somehow I didn't know what I really wanted to do, but I had to decide to stick to one specialization in the beginning, and that was pharmacy. When I graduated, I concluded that pharmacy wasn't for me, and I really had to change. I dig deeper inside my old dreams, and I found diplomacy, and I had to build a plan. 3.5 years of working as a pharmacist while preparing myself for a national competition to be a diplomat. Luckily, with all the hurdles, with a lot of discouraging people around you, I managed to do it with a failure in the middle. As a diplomat, my life changed. So, as you rightly said, one of my purposes was to represent my culture, my country, Egypt, and also a lot about bridging gaps among different cultures. I enjoyed a lot that. So I work in Malawi, in Africa. I work in United Nations in New York and in China. Somehow in China, I reached the peak of my diplomacy career after 9, 10 years of my career. And I thought there might be something else I need to do. So what's next? The answer came in investment banking. And this is how I ended up moving to the third career, which is investment banking. I work in a multinational investment bank. It's called AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which is very similar to the World Bank in nature. And also, again, a new horizon, limitless for me. I had to learn from scratch a lot of other things. I was in charge of business development across different regions. We were covering infrastructure investment all the way from Asia to the Middle East to Latin America. I enjoyed a lot over 4 years doing that, but somehow I was doing my MBA at the same time, and I was doing it in the UK. And I thought I was doing my MBA to grow more in my banking career. But what happened is I changed my mind again. And because doing your MBA is like knocking different doors, exploring different possibilities of yourself. So I saw the potential in moving again uh, to whether entrepreneurship, whether to be a coach, an author, and many other things. Also, I felt I would be a bit selfish if I kept all the values that I lived my life for and with for myself and not sharing them with people around me and to the world. And this is how I ended up in my fourth career. So I had my coaching business since 2020. Uh, Luckily, using my the Passion Blueprint methodology, I helped dozens to hundreds of people in many different capacities. And last year, I started thinking of shifting to my fifth life, and the idea if I was able to help dozens to hundreds of people, there must be a way to help more than this. Um, Having in mind, some economic trends like the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, there are millions of people who are really leaving their jobs willingly without alternatives, not knowing what to do next. And the fifth life, I think, would be somewhere around creating a platform, a tech startup or a tech platform, using AI as well, as we talked before our conversation here, um, to help as many people to change their careers or to find their dream career. Um, I will stop here, and we can dive deeper into each one of them.
Well, it sounds like you're a guy that's pretty much done it all in the business world. People would be jealous of the things that you've done, and the experiences that you've had, but yet you still weren't fulfilled.
Yeah.
With all that experience, you just weren't fulfilled, so you had to find something else to do. So now, writing your book, on your publishing journey, did you go through the self-publishing route, or did you go through an agency route, or something in between?
Well, I explore all of them, and when I started focusing on writing the book, and I had a few ideas in my mind, I thought I really wanted to the traditional way of publishing. I learned from I tried to reach people who have been there, established authors, somebody like Jack Canfield, for example. So Jack Canfield is one of my mentors. He's the New York Times bestselling authors of 47 books, including the Chicken Soup for the Soul series and the Success Principles and many others. Um, and I tried to learn how to write a book, how to have an outline that is really powerful, lean on the right wall, as he said, how to think marketing from day one. And I was writing a whole new book, a very different book from this one. If the working title, I would say, is the Passion Project. So I was focusing on the how, like helping people how to build their ideal life project or career project, if I would say. Somehow, talking to many clients, many people, receiving feedback, I thought maybe a foundational step would be focusing on the myth that people should bust first before they know about the how. Because when I talk to people, I see, for example, somebody would say, wow, it's too late for me to change. I wish if I could do that. Um, while in my journey, I learned the hard way that this is a myth and I learned how to bust it. Another person would say, If I leave my career now after 15, 20 years of expertise and experience in it, it's a sunk cost. So a sunk cost means that I already lost the investment and the time and the effort and the energy that I spent in this career. And then I have to start from zero or scratch somewhere else. So I'm also disproving all of this. Um, so to answer your question, I rewrote the book and I decided to go on self-publisher. I worked with a publisher in the US, but then we did self-publish it. But then also it's available on indie bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, and
Okay, so you did the self-publishing route, but the words are yours, right?
exactly, exactly,
Okay.
exactly,
Because
exactly.
one thing that's extremely important, especially in nonfiction, is a solid outline.
Yes,
You got to have a solid outline,
I
or you
agree.
get lost when you're trying to
I
write the
agree.
book.
I
You
agree.
got to
I
have an
agree.
outline and create your chapters from that outline. Then
I
your
agree.
subheadings have to be, and then your research has to be solid as well.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
did you collaborate on the other parts of the book? And what I mean is, did you collaborate on editing and formatting and your book
Of course.
cover, things like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I work with a professional publisher in the US. And so we did, like, we started with the developmental editing side. So we started, developing, stories and, diving deeper into every myth of them and developing the concepts, developing a structure for every single chapter. And also I had my own mentors. So I have, for example, one of my mentors, storyteller mentor, Jeffrey Berwent, for me is one of the foremost expert in storytelling. So we worked together on developing different stories, and then hopefully I was able to fit each one of them in every chapter. It took me a bit of time, so I worked with an established team. We went to the next step where we had a few drafts on the editing itself. We had also somebody who was in charge of the graphic design, somebody who was able to hopefully help us to create a very attractive cover after almost a dozens, I
Right.
think 20 covers. So different ideas until we reach to something I didn't have in mind when I started, but somehow when we reach that, I say, okay, this is where I want to be and this is what I like. Um, so it took us a while as a team to work together on different aspects.
And one of the issues of going to a traditional publisher
Yeah.
is the feeling of losing control of your book
Yes.
because
Yes.
they're going to do what they want to do
Exactly.
and you
Yeah.
start losing control. And that's what I hear from a lot of authors because
Yeah.
I write nonfiction and all of my books are self-published.
Yeah.
I get to choose what I want,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
even though
Exactly.
I'm collaborating with people along the way, I get to make the choices and I don't lose control of anything. All right.
I
Take
Yeah.
us to what you would consider a point where your worst author moment and tell us that story.
Ah, that's a great question because as an author or somebody who really commit to write every single day, because if being a writer or an author is part of your identity, you really have to write every single day because it's a craft. You really need to get better at it every single day. It's really hard because at several moments, and I could say even right now, every now and then you are in your low point because somehow there are challenges with writing a story or crafting it, making it attractive. uh, this morning, for example, I was working with a translator because I want to translate the book into Italian, English, and Chinese. Having market there and having friends and friends of friends who could read the book in these three languages. So I was working with a friend who is a translator of English to Arabic, and it's very challenging trying to, even if it's my native language as Arabic, trying to attract the meaning and apply it to Arabic. It's really not easy. yeah, you would have always these low moments where like, it's so hard. uh, Another one is always marketing the book, because I'm committing myself to market every book that I would publish for 3 years. It's something I learned from John Kramer, is the author of 1001 Ways to Market Your Book. He's one of the foremost expert in marketing books. And I learning from him, I figure out that 6 months to 1 year is not long term enough, and 3 years is a fair duration. So building the consistency every single day, that you really have to do consistent effort and strategic, tactical at some point effort to market your book, it's really not easy. And you don't always see the positive side of it. You don't always see good sales, or big numbers. It depends. So committing to marketing my book for 3 years at least is really not easy. So every single day I wake up and then I think of 5 to 7 things I do for marketing the book every single day.
Yeah, the commitment, it has to be there. And you're right about one thing, and this isn't a word that I hear often enough. Being an author or a writer is a craft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it is definitely a craft, and it has to be treated as such.
Exactly.
And a lot of writers or authors, they do say you have to write every single day. You have to.
100%.
You got to put
100%.
pen to paper, I call it, even though it might be fingers to keyboard, but we call it pen
Agree.
to paper. It has to be every single day. It
Agree.
is a craft. Okay.
Exactly.
So let's look at out on the other side. Take us to what I call an epiphany moment or an aha moment where no matter what you were doing, you could have been driving, anything but writing. You could have been driving, you could have been cooking, you could have been giving a speech, could have been doing anything. And all of a sudden, this bright light bulb goes off in your head, and it's just an incredible, wow, I got to write this down, for your book. Or if you don't write it down, it'll fade away and it won't mean the
Yeah.
same thing if you wait. Take us to a
Yeah.
story like that. Just, oh man, where's my pen? Where's my paper? I got to write this down
Wow.
right now.
Wow. Well, thinking of a specific story, let me say first, I just try to recall one of them, but I I try to reflect every single day on the things I'm doing, because I'm not only writing books. I also try to acquire businesses. I build my own startup. I try to think of different ways to have a bigger impact. So um, every single day I wake up at 5:30. I do a morning prayer followed by 20 minutes meditation. And then after that moment, I feel that I'm really ready to receive. And what happens is I go for a bit of walk and run, almost for an hour or so. And in that hour, I try to listen to an audiobook that is reflecting what want to think of. If it's when I acquire a new business or so, I would listen to one of those books of Robert Kiyosaki, for example, or whatever it is. If it's about writing a new book, so I want to maybe learn a bit about habits. If I want to write a book about habits, and then I write down in my notes. And in those two specific hours, I get enough inspiration for the whole day. Yeah. So I try to do this every single day. 5:30 a.m. I wake up. I do my prayer, 20 minutes of meditation while walking, and then listening to something that give me more inspiration. And then I go to work. So when I come back home, I sit and I work on what I got inspired in the morning. Um, Not sure a moment of epiphany that I have been through, but I've been through, of course, many of them. Um, and I would say recently, and I started thinking a lot of the value that each one of us should have his or her financial freedom. And I see this as one of my biggest values right now. It has been always there in the past. And this is why I left the corporate job. But somehow I see it necessity. I see it. It's Um, it's for everybody to enjoy, and in order to have your full freedom, you really need to have your financial freedom. So it's something I'm working on for me right now, and also for people around me, and I would love to do more work about that.
Okay. Well, let's go to today. What is the one thing that you are the most fired up about or the most excited about right now today?
Right now it's my startup. So the idea of scaling a service that would help hopefully millions of people who are stuck in their careers, I think that's what's driving me every single day. I give it most of my time, most of my day, at least 50 to 60% of my day. And I see the big value in that. If I'm able to build a startup that is helping millions of people in many different ways to, to find their dream career, I think it's a big purpose for me. Linking that to a big and important value that I have, which is helping orphans. Somehow, the cause of orphanage and helping orphans is something I've been passionate about since I was 15 years old. So, uh, the lesson that I learned, the more I give to that cause, that charity, the more life give me back. So I used to give from my pocket money, and then I see more blessing in my life. I see, having a good job or a better one or a better one. And I decided when I moved to coaching and entrepreneurship that I have to do more. If you ask me right now, what is your biggest goal in life? I would say helping 1 million orphans between the age of 12 to 18 to dream about their careers. Hopefully by 2030, I would have 1 million orphans dreaming about their careers. And even whoever want to create a startup or a business or so, I want to also help them to have that. That's why, for example, $1 from every copy sold from Time to Move On is dedicated to that cause.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, this is Michael T. Thank you for being with us this morning. We invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can find us on your favorite platform. You can download and follow us there. Please leave a review. And don't forget to sign up for our video newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Mustafa, we are entering the lightning round. In the lightning round, we have 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers. So,
Great.
number one, before you became an author at all, before you ever wrote your first book or anything, what
Yeah.
was holding you back from becoming an author in the first place?
A lot of things, including the worthness, the feeling of like, can I be an author? Can I be an author who has an impact on thousands of lives or millions of lives? It's always that struggle. Um, to overcome that, I was always focusing on the value itself, the cause itself, is that I have this value that I lived my life with and for, and it would be selfish to keep them inside. So I have to take them out, no matter one person read a book, 10 person read a book, or even more. But sticking to that, I think, is the ceiling for you that you need to stick to in terms of having a quality work that would stay longer than you stay in this life. So I always try. Perfection is sometimes your enemy, but I always try to perfect things to a level where it's a quality work that people would read from any corner of the world and say, yes, this can apply to me.
Okay. In writing your book, what was the best advice you had ever received?
The best advice from Jack Canfield, and it's important to spend enough time on the outline, and you mentioned that earlier. So uh, I like the way he phrased it. You don't want to lean up to the wrong wall. So you need to spend enough time on understanding the concept that you're going to discuss in the book. Have a very clear and solid outline, and then you can move on from there. It doesn't matter. So always the work I'm trying to do. So I will just share with you something, because I'm thinking of, I'm working on my second book, and I just can share with you that's a new outline. So just show you how that would would work. So I start with an
Wow.
outline like this, and that leads me to the right direction and the right destination. But it's very important to start from this step.
Yeah, the outline is absolutely
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Okay. Well, share with our listeners one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Uh, Meditation and praying is powerful. And what I mean by this is when you spend time on meditating, you start visualizing things. And visualization is very, very powerful. I'll just give you an example. I used to do this things unintentionally in the past. Now with more intention and more understanding. But I will just give you an example. When I was preparing to be a diplomat, um, I was preparing for the final interview. And in the final interview, you have almost 10 or 11 deputy ministers. Sometimes you have the foreign minister sitting there. And it's very, very hard interview. So each one of those ambassadors will ask you in his or her expertise. So what I did is every single day I would reflect on the question that I might be asked. So I just, visualize for a couple of hours what type of questions I might be asked. And I just go with my imagination to any question. If I get the question and don't know the answer, I go out and try to find the answer or Google it or whatever. I started doing this, I think 3.5, 4 months until the day I went for the interview. To my surprise, I went there, they started asking me the questions. Almost 98% of the question I got asked were ones I prepared for. Um, Somehow I didn't have an answer for that, why this happened, but by spending a bit of time on understanding visualization and that power, I get to know a lot about the power of visualization. And I could see that is happening in my life.
So you missed those few, but then after that, you went and found what they were, right?
Exactly, exactly. So what happened? Exactly whatever I imagine and visualize of those questions, and found their answers. 4 months later, I got asked all those questions. It's
You get
magical.
same questions again, and now you knew
Again,
what they were.
exactly, and I knew them. So there is a power in visualizing, everything in front around you.
Right. Well, Mustafa, we are now going to enter the grand finale. Why don't you tell our listeners a way maybe that they can get a hold of you, get in touch with you, follow you, find your book? But what
Sure.
I really want you to do is take your time and tell our listeners about your book.
Sure, Michael. So yeah, my book, Time to Move On. In the last few years, I learned the hard way how to bust a lot of those myths that I'm writing about in the book, to start going full speed in my career. And talking to a lot of people, I found out that the first step to find your dream career is to start busting some of those myths around that we mostly were believing in. So I would just give examples of a few of those myths. One of them, I call it the supreme specialist myth. In order to succeed in your life or your career, you have to stick to one specialization, spend all your life in it, get promoted until the last day in your career, and this is how you achieve, remarkability or so. And I'm proving in many different ways that this is not the only way to succeed in life. I'm proving there is another way, which I call it career shape shifting, where people have more control over their careers, especially with technological advancement and AI. I also speak about it's too late to change. And I've talked to a lot of people, no matter what their age was. And when we talk about change, they say, "Oh, I would love to do that, but it's too late for me." So I'm busting also this myth through research, stories, and I'm showing people who are in 70s who are able actually to change their lives in many different ways. Um, Another one, it's I have bills to pay, and it's very interesting when I talk to people and I see somebody saying, "Oh wow, it's good for you that you change, but I wish if I could do the same. But I have family, I have my bills to take care of." Um, Having that conversation around your bills, while arguing that it's important to take care of your responsibility, I don't think we ever exist in this life just to pay our bills and die. So I'm also arguing in the book that there might be a way in the middle, while taking care of your bills, is to have a plan to find your dream career while you're doing so. And many other myths in the book that I'm diving in deeper, and I'm trying to bust each one of them.
Well, Mustafa, we thank you so much for being here with us today and opening up with us, and I am sure our listeners appreciate this too. Again, this is Michael T., and I thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on the top, scroll down to the icon of your choice where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. You can download and follow us there, and please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and get the latest information for our upcoming shows. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.